Hi, welcome to this info session on what is a university qualification worth, or more accurately, what is a university qualification worth in the Australian IT industry. Before we have a look at the agenda, I'll just mention where we're getting this data from. It's from the latest Australian census. We use the census data because we believe it's easily the most accurate available. Number one, everyone has to fill the census out so you get a complete cross-section of the industry. And number two, because of the potential to cross-reference with people like the Australian Tax Office, when they ask you questions like how much you're earning, at least me, and I think most people are pretty careful that you put the accurate amount in. Okay, what are we going to cover? We'll have a look at the size of the industry today, as of the census, how much they're getting paid in the major job families, the percentage with a qualification, because when you do your census, you're required to put in your level of education, right from year 12 up to doctorate. You can then, because you've got that data, you can have a look at things like impact on earnings. For instance, you can have a look at this. What is a CIO with a what are CIOs with a doctorate earning compared to CIOs with year 12? Not that there's probably that many CIOs with year 12, but so we can have a look at the impact on the earning, and then we can do a bit of math. Not my strong point, but you can check that for me. We're going to have a look at the payback period to do a master's degree with Charles Sturt University. Okay, let's have a look at the size. There's that. Now these are not all the job categories. There's a lot more job categories. What we've done is we've added some, like for instance, CIOs and supervisors and managers are all in together. System admins, DBAs, network security are in together. Business analysts we put in with programmers. So there's a bit of consolidation there. Otherwise we'd have a very long graph, and this presentation would take a very long time. So, but that shows the total number is in the Australian IT industry 264,866. When you look back at the 2011 census, the industry is growing at double the rate of the overall Australian average. So fantastic industry to be working in. The 2006, 2011 is pretty flat, but wow, there's been fantastic growth since 2011. And the earnings, there's also been fantastic growth in the earnings, up again, double the Australian average in the IT industry. Who are getting the big bucks? Well, of course, managers. This is across all the industries. They get the big dollars, rightly or wrongly. Pretty closely followed in IT by project managers. I always say to people, they ask me about a career in IT, and I say, well, if you can cope with it and you're good at it, project management, but it's a pretty high stress job. You certainly earn your money, and I think most managers do as well. Excuse me. And then the average is probably not great surprise there. Security, for instance, I'll mention them because they've been such a big growth area. They're on an average 112, but I'll bet you'll see a big rise for the 2021 census. Then we can have a look at, because as I mentioned, you've got to put in your qualifications. You can have a look at the percentage with a UniQual, whether it be a bachelor's, a doctorate, a master's. We've lumped them all in together. So not surprisingly, the one with the category with the most is programmers. It's a traditional field. You do your Bachelor of Computer Science and then roll on into your job, whereas areas like system admins, for instance, particularly, they tend to get poached a bit out of uni. First year, pretty common. It's happening now, certainly, in a big way with the growth in the industry. So less complete, and you've got a smaller percentage. The one that actually floored me here was the IT managers percentage. Only 59% of IT managers have a UniQual. And when you see the impact on how much they're earning, it's pretty amazing. I mean, particularly for them, it would be a great investment to go off and get yourself a UniQual in terms of your future earnings potential. By the way, we got data on like engineering and accounting in the past, and much higher, to 90% plus. So you're probably not surprised at that. IT is a unique industry in terms of, and IT support, not only the lowest paid, but also the lowest level of qualification there. But again, I haven't pulled those figures out, but if you pull out the numbers, yes, we do. We actually cover the what they're earning. let's have a look at that. IT support on 70,000 with no uni-qual bumps up to 78,000, which is a big jump on the lowest rate. It goes up 7,000. But the one I mentioned is the big ticket item, particularly IT managers. Look at that. Without a qual, with a qual, 12,511. That's per year ongoing. It doesn't happen 1 year, it keeps going. And as we know, people tend to look at a uni-qual, rightly or wrongly, and say, even though it's 20 years old, they still seem to treat it the same. So it just goes on and on. And the overall average across the industry, between those with uni-quals and those without, 10,828, which is, I must admit, a lot higher than I expected it to be. If you worked in the IT industry for, say, 25 years, I don't know if that's how accurate, that's the number they usually use with these type of calculations, but I wonder these days people swap careers a lot more. But just imagining you stayed in, your return on investment, so to speak, of your extra career earnings would be $270,000 plus, which I think most people would say is a fantastic investment. All right, let's have a look at the return on investment in a bit more detail. As our example, we're going to use, surprise, surprise, a master's from Charles Sturt University. It's 12 subjects long. I mean, a bachelor's 24 subjects, masters, most unis these days are 12 subjects. We charge $3,000, a bit more these days for each subject. So your maximum cost to do a master's degree would be $36,000, a little bit over. But I say maximum because there's ways you can reduce that. You can get credit. We give credit for most of the mainstream industry certs from Cisco, Microsoft, and Project Management Institute, and that will reduce your cost, obviously. We also give credit for equivalent postgraduate study, and the third way, which is a new way, we give credit if you complete 3 of our short courses. They're free, 5-week courses, mini exam at the end of them. If you pass 3 of them, you get a maximum credit is only 1 subject, an unspecified credit into whichever masters you want to go and do. And the second way you'd reduce your cost is providing it's applicable to your career, it will be tax deductible, which will obviously cut your cost. But let's assume you don't get any of that, and you've got to pay out there using fee help, just when everyone uses fee help, you use fee help to pay the $36,000. Remember that number we looked at before, the average difference in earnings is 10,828. Divide the 2 and your payback period is 3.3 years, which I think most financial people tell you is a fantastic investment. Particularly, it keeps giving. As I said, it keeps going on after you've got it. Why the link between earnings and uni-quals? I've thought about this a lot, and we haven't done any proper research. Okay, so this is not the basis of someone's PhD or something. Would be an interesting PhD to do if we talk someone into it. Okay, but some of the areas we put forward that could be causing that, of what you learn, we'd like to, as a uni, say that that's because of what you learn. Well, it certainly was the case with me. I use the stuff in my masters repeatedly, and I still use some of it. And it was because, as with these masters, you can make it applicable to your current employment. It was highly regarded by employers as well. So what you learn, simply because it's on your resume. I'll give you a concrete example, which is myself again, going for a first management position in Telstra. I've just started my masters. I've got it on my resume. I get the job. I then go for an executive role a couple of years later. I'm just finishing my master's, still not finished though. It's on my resume in progress, and I had to talk to the HR people after I got the job and said, yep, it's important you had that degree. You probably would have been shortlisted out without it. So rightly or wrongly, they, especially HR, like to see it on your degree. I suppose it says certainly you're motivated, which is my third point. This is not just a training course you're going to go off and do for a week. This is 2 years of you trying to juggle your studies with your work and with your social life. So it does say something about your motivation. At one stage I nearly pulled out. I must admit, when I was doing one, thank God I didn't. And most people have that experience at some stage. So it does say something about motivation. And who knows, there may be other reasons as well. I'm sure there is. If you've got any ideas, please send them through. I'd be interested to hear them. Okay, that's it, short, sharp. Thanks for listening. Just a couple of truisms to leave you with. You'll never finish if you never start. So I talk to so many people and say, oh, they'll get around to it. 5 years later, they say, oh, yeah, I'll get around, I'm just too busy. And I wonder how many opportunities they've missed in that time. And the second one, as I've mentioned there, my examples, and this is happening repeatedly with our students now, a master's degree in progress works on your resume. In fact, I think it's a positive, though. People tend to say, oh, what's that about? And you have a good discussion during the interview, and you make it clear to them you'll be doing it at your own time and it's relevant to the workplace. I think it's a fantastic thing. So anyway, thanks for listening. If you've got any comments, stats, questions, even abuse, just send it. There's my CSU email address, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, good luck with whatever you end up doing. Thanks very much for listening.